Alright, I gotta hop over Skydog and come over here. They come on. Y'all, if y'all are watching this and you get on before we work out the kinks on it, do realize this is our first time doing it where we're actually going to do a Facebook Live and make sure we got it. We got Ashley over here and she's going to try to see if she can get to where she can answer your questions while this is going on. Or at least let me know about them. We're also going to try to sling them up on the TV, but technology is not always our friends.
Okay, I see nothing. I see no Facebook Live.
I'm going to run around and look back at the phone, make sure it's on. It says it's on. Don't see anything yet?
Oh, so just start talking.
Be over there, use your Google Foo and see what you can do. So, we're working out the kinks in this, y'all. I hope y'all bear with us because this is episode 1 of Focus on the Seller. What we're going to do is the whole purpose of this is to be able to get closer to y'all via Facebook and be able to answer your questions, any questions that you may have about selling a property. So, while we're waiting for people to get on and while we're waiting for things to work out, let me tell you a little bit about us. We're Focus Property Solutions. We're located in Calhoun, Georgia. We buy and sell houses in Bartow, Gordon, Whitfield, and also Murray County. So when I say we buy houses and mobile homes. Normally what we do is we go in and purchase one. We either fix it up and resell it. So y'all heard of that before, flips. Or we'll go and get one, fix it up, and turn around and rent it. So that's our basic plan. We've been in business since 2010, and we love what we do. But the main purpose of tonight's segment and what we're going to be doing from here on out is to be able to get closer to y'all and be able to answer questions that you may have before we actually get face to face with you. And so we thought this may be a great way to be able to hit all kinds of people as opposed to just one-on-one. So, you got anything yet?
Nothing yet.
All right. Once we figure this thing out, Ashley's
I'm on here. I'm just looking for comments.
You're just looking for comments.
Yeah,
okay, so you're on there.
I see it.
Can you sling it onto this?
Yeah, let's do that.
This is exciting. You ready to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
2 shakes.
Two shakes?
Be on here.
Ah, it worked. All right, fantastic. All right, let me say this before we get into this. Y'all, this is going to be happening Wednesday nights. Currently, it's at 8 o'clock. We're still working on the analytics on this to make sure that's the best time because Ashley pointed out that 8 o'clock is probably a good time for moms to be putting babies in bed and getting baths done and things like that. So, matter of fact, y'all tell us, what is the best time for us to be doing this? Wednesday night seems to be when we have the most activity on our page, but if there's a better time during the day, we're here for you for this entire thing. So if there is a change in that, we'll let you know on it. Next thing is, if y'all like this, if this works out great, if you're getting value out of this, please do us a favor. Like our page, Focus Property Solutions, which you already must be a part of if you're looking at it. Share this video, and if you could, share our page because we want to be able to get out and help as many people as possible with answering their questions about what kinds of things they can expect to sell when they're selling their house, and particularly if they're going to sell their house to an investor. So, do you think we're ready to get into it?
Yeah, get started, and if there's any questions, I'll tell you what they are.
Okay, so one of the very first questions whenever I sit down with a seller that they oftentimes ask me is, what do you think my property's worth? And I hear all kinds of different things. Some people will talk about, man, the house right across the road, it just sold for blah, 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 or X amount. They'll go and they'll say, man, I got this appraisal from about 10 years ago. This is what I think it's worth. They have come up with all kinds of different ways to be able to look at the values, and they're still unsure of what to do. So tonight, I'd like to go through 3 different ways to be able to tell values on your property, talk about each, and talk about how you can use them and know more about your property. So the first one I want to talk about tonight is, and this is one you're probably all familiar with because you just got your notices last month, is your tax value. All right, so let me explain what the tax value is. At your county courthouse, you have an office over there that you may have heard of called the tax assessor's office. Now, tax assessor is a little bit of a misnomer in my opinion, because the guys or the girls that work in that department aren't really assessors, they are appraisers. They just happen to work for the county. And so what their job is their job is to go and look at our entire county and assign a value to each property, each house, each mobile home, each parcel of land, the entire county, and try to do that effectively each year. Now, I know in the counties we work at, we've got great people that work there. They do a good job, but because there's so many parcels to look at, when you go and well, let me say this. When you go and you look at your tax card, which is either the assessment that you get from the tax assessor each year, or whenever you go and you look online and you find your tax card, there's a number down there that says tax appraised value. Now, that number is something that a lot of people bring out whenever I sit down with them. Like, look, man, tax assessor says our house is worth this. I'm like, that's awesome. That value may or may not be correct. And the reason why it may or may not be correct is the tax assessors, or the appraisers like I like to call them, have the entire county to be able to work with. They've got to try to figure out values on every single property every single year. And that's not an easy undertaking for them whatsoever. So what happens is they don't necessarily look at each house every single year. Instead, what they do is they go and they look at them about every 3 years. Sometimes it may be less, sometimes it may be more. You can kind of see this if you go and you look at your tax assessor's page. You'll go and you'll see there's a picture of your house, and it won't be this year's picture. It'll be a different year from the last time they came out to assess it versus where you're at right now. The reason why that's important to know is because that value that you have sitting there may be lagging a couple of years behind. And so that may mean that your house is worth more. That also may mean your house is worth less. The other thing that doesn't really do is that doesn't take into consideration the condition of your property since the last time that the assessor came out to look at it. So if, well, let's throw something out there. Let's say they came out and looked at it 3 years ago and the house was perfect, but 2 years ago, lightning struck the house and the house burned down. Mm-hmm. That didn't get caught yet in the tax assessor's office, and they're still going to value your house from when they came out and looked at it when it looked beautiful. So when you go and you look at your tax assessor's value, look at that and say, okay, this may be right, it may not be right. It's a way to be able to look at it and to be able to figure out if that's a value, but it's not necessarily the best thing to go by. So just know that whenever you see that, it may or may not be correct. And once again, remember, the appraisers at the tax assessor's office have the entire county to do. So they're doing a fantastic job, but they can only hit it as many times as they can and still get the entire county done. So just realize that. They're not trying to hoodwink you or anything. It's just, this is the way that it works. So just know that. And so that tax value, actually, truthfully, the better the tax value is, the more tax they get out of it. Because they take that tax value, multiply it times the millage rate, and then that's how much you pay for your property taxes. So that's how a tax value works. It may be good, it may not be good. Just know that's what's going on. So the next value that I want to talk to you about is, let's see, what color I do? I did black. Let's do FMV. All right, FMV stands for fair market value. You're like, Joey, isn't that what we're always talking about? Fair market value is something, I have to tell you, whenever me and Ashley got into this, it was hard for me to get my head wrapped around all the different things associated with property. Truthfully, what I started thinking about was, how do these things work with vehicles? See, I bought and purchased quite a few different trucks and cars over the time, and so I started thinking about things from that perspective, and it helped me to understand. So what I want to do for you to be able to understand what fair market value is let's talk about two different vehicles. Let's talk about a 1999 Dodge truck. And then I want you to think about a 2019 Dodge truck. I don't care if you like Dodge, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, whatever. I'm just picking something out there. If I were to ask you which car is worth more, what would you say? You'd probably say the 2019 Dodge truck, right? Okay, well, what happens if that 2019 Dodge truck had just been totaled and then our 1999 Dodge truck had 35,000 miles on it, had been kept in a garage and was in mint condition. And the only time that it was cranked was once a week to make sure that the steels stayed good. Which of those two trucks would be worth more? The 1999 one. So, whenever you're thinking about vehicles, you automatically know that condition, age, style, all those different things help you to know what value the truck is worth, right? Okay. Well, with the same thing in mind, that's how houses work. The only difference is there's not a Kelly Blue Book that tells us how to be able to figure out what house values are. So this is what we got to do. Fair market value is something I like to call instantaneous. What I mean by that is it's an instantaneous value. It changes over time. It can change daily, it can change weekly, it can change yearly. It changes based off of condition, it changes based off of location, it changes based off of style of house. There's all kinds of different factors that are associated with figuring out what your house is worth. Now, you intuitively know how to do that with vehicles because you've been doing it your whole life. Whenever you step back and you look at houses, for some reason it tends to be a little bit different. At least it was in our mind whenever we first started. So, I bring that up because when I'm sitting with a seller and they go, well, Joey, I think my house is worth $150,000 because that house right over there just sold 2 weeks ago for $150,000. Whoa. So Ashley just threw that up there and then it started talking to us. That's okay, we needed it. I'm gonna get a drink of water real quick. So they'll tell me, Joey, that house just sold right over there for $150,000 and my house should be worth that, right? And I'll sit there and I'll be like, well, can you tell me about the house? Like, yeah, the people bought it, they lived in it for a year, and before they sold it, they came in and they put in new paint, they put in new floors throughout the whole thing, it had stainless steel appliances in there, had custom tile. I mean, they let us come over because they were friends of ours, and that house was awesome. I mean, I couldn't believe how great that house was. And while they're telling me this, I might be looking around and I'm saying, well, we got paneling on the wall, there's 3 different colors throughout the house. Looks like the kitty cat got over there and ate up the carpet just a little bit. And so the condition of that house is not the same as this house. It's 2 totally different things. That one's in a lot different condition than this house is. And so that house is going to be worth more than this house is. Fair market value is something that changes depending on condition, location, what the market is doing, and what kind of style it is. So here's another thing, right? If the house over there sold for $150,000 and it was just built brand new house, but the house we're standing in is a 1970s brick ranch that maybe have been updated, but it's not a split foyer sitting over there. Those are 2 different styles of houses. They are not something that you can compare to one another. Which, by the way, brings me to the next thing. Fair market value is based off of a thing called comparable sales. Now, what comparable sales is we go and we look at things that have sold recently that look the same as the house that we're sitting in. So, we want to find a 1970s house that's a brick ranch that is recently sold. And what we want to do is we want to get it as close to that house as possible. So I don't want to go look in the next county and say that house is worth this, the same one I'm standing in. So if I was looking in Calhoun and I'm standing in a 1970s brick ranch, and I go look at a 1970 brick ranch in Cartersville, those aren't the same house. Even though they were built the same, they're not in the same location. They're in totally different markets, and so that's totally different. I want to get a house as close as possible, built the same, that's in the same condition, in the same location, and that will tell me what the house is worth, okay? So that's fair market value. Just know that whenever you go to look at fair market value, it changes depending on location, condition, and what the state of the market is. And so just because somebody's house over there just sold for X doesn't mean that your house could particularly be worth that, okay? The final value that I want to bring to your attention that we talk about a lot is, let's see, what color am I use? Let's use purple. All right, ARV, that stands for after repair value. For investors, an after repair value is something very important. When you're flipping a house, you go and you look at what a house will sell for once we do all the repairs, once we do all the fix-up, once we make that thing look brand spanking new, what will it be worth then? The difference between fair market value and after repair value is probably the best value that you're going to be able to get. And after repair value is the fair market value after you fix the house up. Does that make sense? So, when we're looking at numbers and we're trying to figure out what the house would sell for if we came in and we put new carpet in, if we put hardwoods in, if we did custom tile, if we put a new kitchen in, all those things add to the value of the house and will bring the value up. So when you are looking at the house that just sold over there that's a brand spanking new house, the house is an after repair value. Your house is going to have a fair market value different from the after repair value. So those are the two different numbers that you look at whenever, at least we look at when we're looking at different things to figure out whether or not there can be a deal made or not. So the long and the short of it is you've got to go and you got to look around and figure out from different places what your value is going to be. Well, let me tell you this. A lot of people go and they look at Zillow. Zillow is a great thing and then it's a not great thing. The reason why it's a great thing is because it's a way to be able to put your house out there to, don't take this the wrong way, because it is not as good as MLS. But it's almost like the people's MLS where we can go and we can throw things out there. However, Zillow has a thing down on the right-hand corner called Zestimates. That's what they kind of think your house is worth. I think what they're doing a lot of times with the Zestimates is they're going with after repair value. That's not always the case. We've had properties that we've purchased and we're looking at it, and the Zestimates will be way below what we just sold the house for after we fixed it up and sold it. Or we've had properties that we bought it and the Zestimates said it was way more than what we could sell it for. And so I don't know how their algorithm works on that. I don't know what they do with that, but just know that Zestimates are not a good way to figure out what your value is. The other day I was talking with a couple that had their house for sale, and we came up with their house was probably worth, I think, $165,000, and they told me, no, on Zestimates it says our house is worth $275,000. And I said, I really hope you get it. I really hope you get it. And truthfully, I did. I hope they could get that much out of it. But what we were looking at was, we thought the after repair value was going to be $165,000. And what they were saying off their estimates was their fair market value was $275,000. That's a big swing. So Zestimate, looking at Zillow is cool because you can go and find where your house is and kind of zoom out on the map and look at things that are for sale around you and kind of figure out what may be a comparable, what may not be a comparable. But I would not go off as estimates to tell you what your value is. But the number one best way to be able to get what your house is worth is call us. We'd be glad to look up some comparables, tell you what we think it's worth. The other thing that you can do is contact a local real estate professional. They can go and pull comparable sales and find a house that's a lot like yours. You can also go and get an appraisal done. So we've got a couple of appraisers that we work with, and they do a phenomenal job. That is their business. Their business is to go and tell you exactly what your house is worth in the condition that it is right now. And the price on that ranges. I think the last one we got done was $320. So if you're serious about getting your house sold and you have no idea what your house is worth, give some people a call and see if that'll work out for you. So we're going to end there tonight. We didn't get a whole lot of questions, did we, Ashley? No. All right, so we didn't get any questions tonight. Next week, I think what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how an investor makes you an offer based off of these values that we talked about. In the meantime, go ahead and share this video, like our page, and then if you have any questions, contact us and let you know your questions, and we'll start an episode based off of your questions, because we really are. We're here for you, and we want to be able to focus on the seller. So, how long have we been on, Ashley? Been on for 20 minutes. That's probably long enough. We look forward to talking to you and reaching out to you soon. Y'all have a great night. Now, I'm going to have to run around and turn it off because we haven't got technologically savvy enough to be able to do it by ourselves. Y'all have a great night.